why it's so like a touchy topic, because people don't know what way to talk about people, or to people that are feeling those things. So like that's the one thing I have been encouraging people, is to talk. And I know people are like, oh, talk, like tell us if you're not okay and stuff like that, but it's not even just that. It's to talk and use the words like suicide, have you ever thought of killing yourself, la la la, and like, yes, you might feel awkward saying it, but do you know what I mean? You wouldn't be uncomfortable saying like to someone like, how's your chemo? Do you know what I mean? In that sense, like you're talking about, or like, how are you feeling today if you're sick, like if you're physically sick. Whereas like you shouldn't feel awkward to talk about, do you know what I mean? Like about suicide as well. So yeah, no, it's been a hard year. Like it's obviously be something that's gonna impact my life for the rest of my life, I suppose.
Lauren, how the hell are you? What's going on?
Good. How are you?
I'm grand. What have you been up to today?
I actually did a barista course today.
You did a barista course today?
Yeah, or whatever way you say. Macker and myself did it today. So Goldie had done it last year, and we just said we do. It was only like, I think the one in Dublin, well, you'd probably do the art as well, but I think the one in Dublin's like at the moment like €500, and the one we did today was like $99, which is like €70. So we were like usually spend my mornings just kind of walking to a coffee shop or walking to the beach and stuff. So I was like, may as well do something a bit more useful and something that I might use.
That's what I was going to say, is like Australia massive for coffee, like such a coffee culture. Yeah. So like great thing to do, I suppose. In case the AFL doesn't work out and you have no job.
Yeah, no, honestly, no, they're really big snobs, especially in Melbourne. Like even like they say, like when you go to Sydney, they're like, oh, shit coffee. Whereas like I'd be like, oh, this is amazing. And if I went to Sydney, I'd probably say the same. But your man today was just harping on about how in like behind times everywhere else is compared to Melbourne when it comes to coffee. So yeah, that was interesting. Like, because I'm always like, why does coffee taste different, and why is it burnt, and then learning stuff. But no, it was good. It was a bit pressurized, to be fair. Your man was like taking it, like he's like faster. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, no, it was funny. No, it was
what
good.
Were you learning how to make? Like, did you learn how to make them all? Like,
yeah, like we didn't do the coffee hours because it would have been like a longer day. Like it was 9 to 1. Like without kind of like he's like, you can take a break if you want, but he's like, I'm just gonna run through it. But you just kind of like how to make a perfect coffee, like just in general, like 1 shot, 2 shots, then kind of the difference between how to like froth the milk, or as he says, cream the milk for like a flat white cappuccino latte and stuff like that. So it was interesting, like on all the different beans and stuff. Like it actually was really good.
So you're a qualified coffee snob now.
Yeah. And I definitely wasn't. Like he was like, great work. I'm like, you helped me do this whole like milk. Like I didn't do anything. He kept coming over and helping me. I was like, let me just learn from my mistakes. But he just was like, no, you learn like the basics here, and then you have to go and work. But one of the girls was saying to Macker to come into her job and just practice one of the days. So I might go in with her just to see. But no, being like it's handy. Like, and I've no job going back to Ireland, so who knows? Like I could try and get a break.
That's what I was gonna say. Was are you doing much stuff like that? Because like obviously you've no college going on, and you're just training and playing, I suppose. So do you have more time to try new things like that once you're down under?
Yeah, no, at the moment, like the visa I'm on this year, like I can't work, so just like it was kind of like the first year or two, they kind of recommend to do like a sporting visa, just so like if you come, like say another year, that like if you ever wanted to work, that you'd look into a working visa. But obviously there's limited ones of those, so they didn't want any of us to kind of go. And I think this year you couldn't anyway. It was kind of like just lucky enough to come over in the sporting visa. So I was going to do like a course, but I just didn't get a chance to get like a chance to applying for one, and then I didn't know what would want to do. Like I only did an SNA course there in Ireland before I came over, just online, just to do And so yeah, no, I have loads of free time. I have too much free time. Like all the girls, like because the girls at work, so it's obviously like I'm not working, but the girls on the team work. So they're like, "What did you do today?" I'm like, "Nothing." I went to and got brunch, and I'm like, "This is why I'm broke. This is why I have no money at the moment." I'm like, sure, I'm on my holidays when I'm like not, but every day is like, I'm on my holidays. Or like went to a thrift shopping or whatever they OP shops they call them over here, and spent a fortune that I don't have on Monday just because of the sake of it. But yeah, no, we kind of tried to do Goldie does a bit like for the club, just in terms of working and stuff. But we just we try to do day trips when we can. So we've actually did a good few bits. So that
sounds like you're fully assimilated anyway, because you dropped brunch, thrift shopping, and you've said the beach and everything. So you're a fully fledged Melbourner now. Like,
oh yeah, no, like honestly, think I'm from somewhere that I'm not, but yeah, it's very easy to get into the lifestyle over here. It's so like chill, and I think everyone's just so happy because everything's just so nice. Everyone, like, you walk past like places and like you're like it's buzzing like any time of the day, like every week, like weekdays especially, and you're like, if this is Ireland, it wouldn't be busy at all, like at peak times or whatever, but like work times. But like, yeah, no, it's just a totally different lifestyle over here.
So basically, everybody that's listening, when Lauren comes back to Ireland, she's looking for a job, and she's using this to plug that now. So if anybody's looking to employ a new barista, Lauren's your woman. So that's what I was going to say. Since you're not working, then like, is it just all Aussie rules? Is it all footy 24/7?
Not really. Like it is, because like it was at the start, because obviously I'm very new to the sport, and like hadn't a clue. Like obviously the 2 weeks in quarantine helped in terms of like just kind of sitting down watching game after game, kind of all the girls' games from last year's, and just with commentary, because like I feel like when you're watching it without commentary, having a clue what's going on. Like I was watching, the girls had an in-house match and then a match against Geelong, practice match before the season, and like kind of watching that, but there was no commentary because obviously it was just our video from like our club, was still so difficult. So just kind of I was like into that, and then I did all my learning kind of in quarantine where I could, like in terms of like without being on the pitch, and then obviously at the start it was kind of more like making sure that I was learning more, like anytime I trained, like kind of taking notes on that and then being immersed in that. But no, like it's not like I thought it would have been, and then I thought the training would have been like there would have been more days. Obviously the girls had told me, but I still thought it was going to be more than what it is, and like it's a perfect amount. But I just always assumed that it would be a lot more time consuming. But no, it's really well spaced out, and it's really well like time managed. So it's, yeah, no, I do have a lot of free time.
How often do you train then on a weekly basis?
Yeah, so we train Tuesdays and Thursdays. We've trained Tuesdays and Thursdays at the moment. So usually I think like last year they would have changed the training days depending on the day of the match, but because of COVID and like say Western Australia like were closed to any other states, and like same with Queensland and stuff like that, they had to change like the fixtures. So our fixtures changed, so the fixtures were only coming out weekly and they weren't same day, so they were just kind of like keep it to Tuesday and Thursday, like just for everyone's sake, especially because girls work and stuff. So we train Tuesday and Thursday, so it kind of goes like from 3 o'clock you can book in from with a physio, and before that, like you can even, if you like, I'd do a lot of like I would have met up with like Mick, the manager and stuff, to kind of go through just knowledge of the game and different things. So like he'd be there from like 12 onwards probably some days, so you can book in whatever time with him, kind of like homework with him, and then 3:30 their skills on pitch. Then that's like, you don't have to do that, but obviously just being my first year, I'm out most weeks, and then it's kind of like a lot of time you might have a meeting with your line manager or like like welfare officer or any like kind of things. It's more just kind of everyone just around, just buzzing off each other, and then maybe touch before like maybe 20 to 5, and then from 5 onwards it's like either a meeting or prep. So the main difference over here is we do gym, like, so with Dublin we would have just did a gym session Monday and then kind of got your own session in second session, whereas like we do gym so you do your prep, like mobility and all that, and then you'd go into a bit of a lift beforehand and you train and then you lift again after. So that's Tuesdays, Thursdays is the exact same, and then you have your game day dependent, like ours have been Saturdays and Sundays, or I think all the season we didn't have a Friday match, and then they'd have either you have an option to lift post match, say if we're in our own grounds, there's a gym there, and then or the next day they'll have like a slot from like 10 to 12, usually a lift and kind of like a flush run and like ice bath, pool and stuff like that. So
it's a light session though, I'd say, after the match, is it? Because you must be fucked.
Yeah, no, I was like, we played St Kilda and it was at like a 7 p.m. game, and someone was like, I'm doing a gym session now because I can't do tomorrow. I like basically want like Sunday, like she had some plans, and I was like, no, definitely not. And Cody's like, oh, do you not want to do it? And I was like, oh, she's like, we'll have our Sunday off. And I was like, oh yeah. And then when we did it, like it was way easier than what the Sunday session is. So just kind of like he kind of like wherever's sore, don't do, like whatever, say it's the same kind of program every post match, but like obviously it is adjusted if you do it straight after the match. But it's not, I think I find it sore doing it the day after the match than actually after the match. I've done it the last two weeks straight after the match, and it's a lot better.
So you always lift on Sunday if you don't lift after the game, most of the time anyway.
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. I think that's kind of...
Sounds like you're very well looked after anyway. Like in terms of that's very full on the Tuesday, Thursday, and very regimented. Yeah,
no, to be fair, they're so good. Like Reed is our strength and conditioning coach, and he's unbelievable. Like he's the best. I've never come across like anyone like him. Just in general, like he's just, in terms of personality as well, he brings a lot to the group. But he just knows his stuff. Like he's worked in America, like with, I think, like basketball, football, all that. So like he knows his stuff, and like you're not afraid to be like, oh, like I'm a bit tight here or I'm sore here, because now sometimes you're like, oh, like you're afraid that like maybe a physio will be like, right, you're out, like you're not doing anything. Whereas like they'll test you. There's 2 physios, there's a doctor, there's a rehab guy as well, Bach, and like between the 4 of them, they'll be like, right, she's tight here, this is the session tonight, she won't do this, but she'll do this. And then if I miss something else, like you might do bike inside or something off legs inside, do you know what I mean, if you can't turn, and like that's, you know, those type of things.
There's always something you can do, like
it is.
And it sounds like you're very much open to talking to them as well. Like sounds like they have a good open line of communication between you, and you're comfortable being looked after. I think it's just in general, from my fear, obviously being with Dublin for the last few years, that you just know your body as well. And I know like there's probably girls on the team like over here that might not say something until like it's very, like, say a few weeks into being sore, and then they'll say it. Whereas like I thought, like my shins were at me, and I was like, I've never had shin splints, and I just was like, just let you know, like shins are at me, and like Reeve's like, great that you came to us straight away, because like we can, if there's too much that you're doing, and then we have GPSs as well, so he's like, you need to take it easy anyway, like your GPS, like you're mad, like he's like, you know, like if you, like say if you've had like if you're just pushing yourself, and he's like, you need to take it easy anyway, like this is what you've done compared to other girls, even though, like, you know, and stuff like that. So he's like, you need to slow down anyway, and relax, so he can see. And it's not like from the GPSs as well, it's like he knows that you're putting in the effort, and he can see it in general when you go out the pitch, but he knows that you've put in the yards, that like if you do say you're tired, like he knows that you're not, like you're not lying, or like, and that's the level of trust as well with your thing. But I think, as I said, like the few years playing like with Dublin, like I've just, like you might, like when I was 18, 19, I might not have said of anything, like if I'd like wait until I'm very injured to say anything, whereas like now it's like, well, this doesn't feel right, like I suffer with, like, say
hip, hamstring, like, and then like, or usually when it's like my hamstrings or my glutes just coming from my hips, you know, that kind of way. So I'm like, this is what's happening now, like sooner rather than later, because the longer you put it off, the worse it generally gets. So
it's really good that you caught the shin splints early as well, because obviously I know you were running in the quarantine, like up and down, but like your volume of running obviously just increased massively when you came out, because sounds like you were just running around like a mad woman at training trying to get into things.
Yeah, and we went from like obviously the 2 weeks quarantine, a week, like we were drinking a bit after the All Ireland final. You're obviously playing like in winter football, so you're soft ground as well. Then going to like Melbourne, where like our first training session was like 35 degrees heat. Yeah, like it was their hottest day, I think, of summer. Usually it's not like as hot like in Melbourne compared to like Western Australia, but like it's still obviously during summer it still can get really hot. It's very humid, like it can be very humid. But like that was our first training session, and then Tuesday, Thursday, and then I think I was supposed to play a practice match on the Saturday, but like I think it was my hamstring, and I was like, I didn't want to be like, oh, I can't train and like pull up, and I was just on the Thursday, like I was in a lot of pain, and they're like, you're in a lot of pain. I was like, yeah, but I've already missed, and they're like, you're gonna miss more if you don't mind yourself. So
you're a typical like fucking Gaelic footballer. So yeah, but I'm grand.
Yeah, that's literally what it was. But like it was more because I was like, oh, I don't even know how to play this game, and they're like already in, like this week is their first championship match, and they're like, Lauren, you're gonna be fine. Like just take this session. And then I end up doing like, I still ran about 5K on the Saturday, but it was just controlled tempo runs, and it was still a good pace at times, and it was brought up like if I felt okay, rather than go into a match where you're completely will be sprinting for a ball and like it'd be sore. Like, so no, like it is that's where the shins, I think, like that, like going from the heart, like it was like literally going from soft ground to like then like a week of drinking to trying to get back like ready before I went to Australia, still training in like really soft ground, then running up and down a hotel room to like rock solid ground as well.
There's not much consistency there, is there?
No,
it's just
not
like
all.
doing what you can, I suppose.
Yeah, no, literally was. But no, I've never suffered with shin splints, so I think it was just a combination of everything. So, but like they haven't been at me, and they're really good for monitoring and stuff like that. Yeah. So no, it's been a really positive experience.
And how have you found a difference in terms of, like, you touched on, you did 5K and tempo runs, like in terms of between Gaelic football and then Aussie rules, like in terms of, like, not to be real scientific, but like the physiological demands, like more sprinting, less sprinting, more a high tempo, like what are the transferable or what's crossover and what's not?
I missed preseason, so it's very hard to kind of like compare, you know, the kind of way in what we would have, what I did with Dublin in different pre-seasons compared to what I did now, because I obviously came with a level of fitness from the All Ireland that it was just kind of just topping that up. But like talking to the girls, the only thing that they would do would be like the 2K time trial in the start of pre-season. But they were saying like this year, especially with Reeks, they were like all the running was just like kind of like shuttle run sprints, like, or like kind of smaller like amounts of runs rather than run the legs off you, which is way more appropriate to the game. But I think it is quite similar. Like
when you're on pitch, here, like in the match, is it quite similar, like in terms of the amount of time you're involved in play and stuff?
Well, I feel like sometimes I feel wrecked, but I honestly feel like I'm wrecked because I'm trying to concentrate, and I'm like I don't know what's going on half the time, in the sense of like my own brain. I'm like am I on the right play here? Am I in the right position? And things like that. Whereas like with Gaelic football, I could be on the pitch like 60 to 70 minutes, and not like, the only break you get is half time, and you just like you get on with it. And like I'm generally midfield, so I'm up and down the pitch. So like my fitness levels has transferred over well, but in terms of like here, I haven't like the first kind of quarter, like full quarter I played was only like the last like 2 quarters at the weekend, and like it was tough, but like I was well able for it in the same sense. It was more just like because it was a tough game, like just my head, it was more just in that toughness. But I feel like just in general, I don't think like, I think my fitness is like I transferred over. I feel like over here though, it did like not a lot of players at that, like in terms of like change of pace, like direction, off the like first off the mark kind of pace. It where the Irish players seem to be a lot, I don't know, it's weird, like
a lot quicker.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. I was like, what's transferring over in terms of what's giving you the advantage with the GAA?
That would be that, like my like speed is like a big thing for me over here, and just in terms of like the game, like that's what I'm bringing, like in terms of like something that I'm contributing to like the team and stuff. And goalie would have been the same. Like that's one of her big things, is like being one of the fastest and being able to like come off the mark. And do you know what I mean?
It could be nearly something to do with like the pitch size in GAA is smaller, so then you're doing more change of directions, because obviously the pitch is the oval or whatever is massive. Like
it's obviously like it's not just like, oh, you're in a rectangle, like here's like this. It's like you're shifting the whole time and stuff like that. So it could be that, or it could also be like it's still like a very new sport. You know what I mean? It's only 5 years, and yes, it's only going 5 years. But and yes, like obviously some players have played like all the way up, but like not many people have, and they've gone off and done other sports. And like a lot of the sports are not like the likes of like basketball and like netball and stuff, like where you don't necessarily probably need that. You know what I mean? Off the mark speed, kind of power speed. But I don't know. It's probably a combination. And then I'm not too sure whether it's just people.
And also, obviously, you're all the tree or the cream of the crop as well. So that's gonna make a difference when you're being pulled over. Like, so you're gonna be good there. But you touched on like you've been going in early to get the skill sessions in. Are specific skills nearly the most challenging thing, or is it what you said earlier, like the gameplay and focusing in and wondering positioning wise where I'm supposed to be at the moment and stuff like that?
See, it's kind of a combination. I suppose at the start I couldn't kick the ball. Like I couldn't get the drop of the ball. Like I was just a disaster. And everyone's like, oh, this is beer, like, because I was only a few years ago that Mick Bowen was like, you need to sort your kick out, like stop punting like the ball, like stop punt kicking the ball, kick it with your instep places. And I was like, why is it taking me like till I was 20 odd to be told to kick, or like 19, 20, like to be told how to kick a ball properly in Gaelic? Whereas like when I was starting to play this, it was like, oh, the punt, like Mick literally on one of the, he sent me a book over and was like, the punt will stand to you like, like typical. But it was a drop of the ball, and I think it was more just I was just like really annoyed at myself now, like doing my own session. I'm like, I can't get this. And then like I did 2 sessions with a guy called Michael from AFL Ireland, and he, like, the difference of like literally 2 sessions with him, like it was full on, but like obviously it was just the 2 of us, but it was like I was so happy I did those 2 before I came over, because I was already nervous. I'm like, I'm going to make a fool of myself in front of girls trying to kick, whereas like I actually was doing okay. Like it still was not the best, but the difference of my, like I was like there even a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, this is still not getting any better.
It's a slow progression though, I'd imagine.
Like, I think it's like I can be doing well in training, and then like when I have to kick it in the match, it's like all my technique goes out the window, and I just boot the ball up the pitch, because they just want you to get it up the pitch most of the time. That they're not looking for me, like they haven't pressurized me like in terms of like, oh, you need to do this and this. They're like, do like, say like as a defender, like defend your opponent, like get out in front, win the ball and hand it off, like, or get it forward, kick it forward. Doesn't matter what way you do it. In terms of like don't overcomplicate my game, because like hopefully I'll be here like next year, like to progress, and like I'll have more time to actually up my skills, because like it's so hard. But in terms of like, I came over at the start and they put me in midfield on the second team on my first training session, and the midfield is like, you have your ruck, and then you have your defensive mid, attacking mid, and holding mid, and like they all like they have to layer and they have to like move. Whereas like I was like, I don't know what's going on. I was just trying to figure out where I was supposed to be on the pitch, and so I think I'd love to eventually play like in midfield or like on a wing role, but like for the moment, learning the game like in terms of skills and just the gameplay, like being the back is a lot more suited. But everything else, like I think at the start I was just panicking. So like if you get wrapped or if you get tackled and you didn't get a time to like pass it off, like to like just know when to hold, because it'll just be a throw ball. So still like a stoppage. So you're still a 50-50 chance of getting a clearance from it. Whereas like I was like trying to get rid of it, but then they were holding my hand and then I was getting done for like a throw ball. And so like just knowing when to actually hand pass it off or when you have time and when to like hold it and stuff like that. But there is like a lot of it does transfer over. It's just,
are you enjoying that physicality?
Yeah, definitely. I think that was the one thing everyone was saying. I was like, I think you're going to enjoy it. And I was like, what are you trying to say? They're like, a few sin bins here and there, Lauren. And I was like, they're never correct. But no, definitely. No, I have. And like, I think I got into like, I think I thought at the start, I was like, I'll be tackling loads. And then the first few games, like especially when you're not on, you're only coming on at, like as an interchange, it's hard to get into that. And like, there's not many opportunities sometimes that arise, especially if it's not in your D50 to make those tackles. But I got a taste for it on Saturday and got a good few tackles in, and like I think it's not like it's a tough. It's not like rugby. Like it is and it isn't. It's still not like you're not allowed to slam someone on the ground. Like it's just a tackle and to bring them down to ground, and it might be like a hard tackle, but as long as you don't slam them, like it's generally fine. But no, I am enjoying the physicality.
But you said there, like obviously you won the weekend and you've a home quarterfinal this weekend coming, isn't it?
Yeah. We're playing Frio on Saturday, like at 1 p.m. So
how's that prep coming? You trained last night, was it?
Yeah, trained last night and then we trained tomorrow. So no, it was really good. Like we only played Frio there 2 weeks ago in the group stages, and it was a really tough match. I think they were missing players as well, which is always like you're always expecting like then one or two to come in that like will make a difference for them. But no, prep is going really well. We were happy with the win, obviously, and obviously there's lots to improve on still from that win. So if we can go out and play the way we have the last 3-4 games, as well as learning from mistakes or different things from the time we played them literally 2 weeks ago, I'm sure like it's a big advantage to have that, like literally only 2 weeks ago. I'd never generally would have that. You know what I mean? You'd never play someone with Dublin 2 weeks
exactly
and then have to play them again. So it'd be interesting for me just because I've never had that. Even like in league, I don't even think I've ever had to play someone so closely, just the way it works out generally. But no, really looking forward to it. And nice early match on Saturday. So just
that's what I was going to ask. Is like, are you looking forward to it? Because just from touching on you going over and stuff, it sounds like you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to perform. Like,
yeah, I had this like even the other day. Mick was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just really frustrated at myself." And he's like, "Why are you frustrated with yourself?" I was like, "Because I can't get this and this." And he's like, "Lauren, like you need to." Like he's like, "We're happy with what you've done so far." He's like with the preseason, you would have had way more one-on-one time with people. Like I've had loads and they've been brilliant. And for managers and like coaches and stuff that are like in the middle of a season, as soon as I got there, we're still so good with extra time and extra skills. But compared to what I would have got, obviously like 2 months, 3 months of work in general, but also more one-on-one time, he's like, you've done so well. Like you just do what you're doing well and just keep it up in the sense, because I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do this and I still don't know how to do this and blah blah. And he's like, I know that that's your personality and you just want to like perform at your highest and you kick yourself with, like I do, like I'm very bad, like I'm very tough on myself at times, but I'm also like, I know that I'm like, I'm doing well, and it's okay to not do this, but I think that's just who I am. I just always go back. I'm like, yeah, I did well in training, but like I still didn't do this in the match, or la 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 and this. So that's just the way
your ambition
I
is
deal with
class.
things.
Like your ambition is class in that you come down your first year halfway through the season, you're like, right, I'll play midfield. It's like, well, hang on there, Lauren. But like,
I think
it's
they
good.
said it.
It's good on one side, and then on the other side, as you just touched on, you'll always focus on the negatives. So what I wanted to ask was, do you have any strategies around reducing your pressure that you put on yourself and reducing those negative kind of focus or thoughts after the game?
I feel like I am, like, I touch on them, but I am very good to my, like, I do give credit where credit's due when it's myself, and especially like speaking, like I've so many people like in my life that like would be into sports, so it's so good like to be able to analyze it with them and go through and be like, they're like, this is what you did well, like stop, and I'm like, yeah, no, I know that. But like I'd be very good, like I wouldn't pressurize myself like going into a match. Like I'd be like if I have a role, if I've only 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, that's what I have to do. And generally with Dublin, like would be a lot of the time would be like a man marking role and stuff like that. But like, and some people would like, oh, they'd watch the whole game of that person just to see what they do. And I'd be like, I played them before, like I kind of know the gist, and I might watch a few clips here and there, but I wouldn't pressurize myself too much, because I find like if you overanalyze it going in, it's just, it can, I think some people like that, and some people like that's how they, but I'm just kind of like, I think maybe on Saturday was probably the most relaxed I've been when it came to a game, and I wasn't overthinking, and I didn't do too much in terms of like obviously watched the clips that were given to us, but I didn't like watch like a whole game of Brisbane or like different things. And like I think I was a bit more, whereas like other previous games I probably was watching too much, because obviously I don't know the game, and I'm like, oh, I need to know this and this about the team, and this about their forward, and this about this other forward. Whereas on I did watch all the clips that were given, but I also was like, well, that's enough, like just go and play your game and just do what you have to do. And I think it did help a lot. I think I was way more relaxed. Like every week I feel a bit more relaxed and a bit more like that I'm doing like I'm getting more confidence in the game. But I definitely think that helped massively. I'm very like much like I tune out, like in All Ireland finals I go to the cinema the night before, you know, that kind of way, just to be like nothing. And I wouldn't think of I think All Ireland, like in general, like with football in Dublin, I don't do, as I said, too much into analysis. If they've done clips and it's on a training session on a Friday before a Sunday game, that's generally the only ones I've asked. Unless there's a specific role, I might watch a few clips and that's it. Because I think sometimes, unless that's how you deal with it, but I think some people pressurize themselves too much by watching too much, and I think that can get in your head. And
it's like it's nearly like cramming for an exam the night before. Like I never got the people, you know, that stayed up till like 3 a.m. in the morning when the exam's at 9 or whatever. Like as you said there, or even for a match, like the best matches I've played are the ones that I've been relaxed for and I'm not worried about. But I suppose when you are worried, it just shows that it matters to you as well in a way. But it's tough to say like, okay, I've enough done now, I'll step back and I'll
I think it is. And it's, I think like, well, like that's like nerves as well. Like obviously like nerves are a good thing, and it's just kind of like to channel them when you get on the pitch. But no, I think it's just a mixture, and I think it just knows what, like I think every game's different. I think like I try to do these things where like, oh, I wore my hair this way the last time, I have to wear this time the same way because I won last time. Like there was there like 2 years ago on the bus, like Aoife Kane used to plait my hair, and we were going to the All Ireland final, and we were on the bus, and the bus like takes 5 minutes from DCU literally. And I was like, you have to plait my hair now. And she's like, Lauren, like I can do it in Croke Park. I was like, no, you have to do it on the bus, because we've done it on the bus the whole season. And it'd be something silly like that. Like it'd be same with Goldie, like we did lifts all, like I think it was same All Ireland for 2019, like that whole year to all the games. And like Ava was going with someone else, and she's like, are you coming with me? Like we've gotten lifts all year to the GAA, like, do you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And I'd be similar, but then I'm like kind of like, knowing you can't keep the same ritual. I'm like, Lauren, like it's fine. So it's just kind of knowing when to be like relaxed.
Are you very
but I think
superstitious? Like, that sounds very superstitious to me now.
No, I'm not. I'm actually not. And I think sometimes it's like I just get it in my head. And like over here, I've been fine. Like I've had no superstitions, and it's been great. I think just at home sometimes you get it into your head like, oh, I need to do this or I need to do that. And then I'm like, no, I didn't do that the last time. Like, Lauren, I don't know why you're being so awkward about this. But yeah, no, it's those type of things. But yeah, I think it's just a balance of knowing what to do, like in terms before match, like how much research you need, or like what to do and what not to do, just so you're not too stressed.
And do you think, like, you touched on Dublin there, obviously, and you touched on saying not or playing Fremont, was it 2 weeks ago, and now playing them again, like, so when you're at home and you're playing, well, you play league at home, but when you're playing championship, it's straight knockout. Whereas this weekend it's knockout again. Do you think that playing knockout at home reduces your stress when you're down in Australia? But likewise, do you think all those superstitions were because you were going to Croke Park for a knockout, and it's more like, and you were relaxed last week because it was group, like, if you get what I'm asking?
Yeah, no, actually, I didn't even think of that. I suppose, yeah, no, I think going into this weekend, like as you said, like I'm generally just used to knockout, with the way our championship goes with Dublin, and it's just one of those things. You just have to be your best and trust the process of the game and your game plan, and just kind of go in and just give it your all. And obviously, as you said, like knowing that, like if you don't give it everything, that you could be on like the losing side, and the losing side is that you won't either win in All Ireland or you won't even get further into competition. But yeah, I think that definitely does bring something. It's something that I've done for the last 5 years, and with Dublin, I've been lucky enough to be on the teams that we've been able to get so far in those competitions, with knockout. But yeah, no, it definitely is. It's not. I think going into this weekend, I was like, someone said knockout, I was like, I didn't even think of it that way. Like I just thought of another match, and I think that's just the way to go about them. I think it's just each week it's another match. It's match 1, match 2, kind of. That's the way we did it with Dublin, and Mick Bowen and his analysis of the team and like the coaches. We always did match 1, match 2, and it was always like on the schedule for the year, whether like you made it or, do you know what I mean? Like, so it was always like you didn't think of the next match. So I think it's just one of those things where like I'm just like, it's the next match, and as I said, it wasn't until like when like the girls like, oh, like do you know what I mean? Like if we lose, we're like, do you know what I mean? We're like we don't have that long left in Australia, and I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that. No, I think I'm like, I'm trying to plan some traveling after, and I'm like, I hope the borders don't start closing again. But
well, that's stuff you can't control as well, you know, like, and it sounds like you're pretty good at taking each match as it comes, as the old adage goes, I suppose. But yeah, like it's worrying about things that you can't control is you can work yourself into a hole. And then the other thing that I wanted to touch on today, but I wasn't even sure how to ask the question, because I did my research into your story and stuff that's been going on in the last year or two. So I said I'd just give you the floor to tell everybody your story, what comes with mental health, and your experience in the last couple of years with mental health struggles.
So I suppose with mental health, it was something I've never like myself have experienced in terms of like getting into, like, obviously there's days where you feel a bit anxious or like you feel a bit down and stuff like that, but I'm kind of like, I'm an emotional person as it is, so I just kind of take it those type of days. But I've never gotten to the point where like I'm feeling really down, and I've had friends that have, and like they suffer anxiety, depression and stuff. So I've kind of talked about it. One of my best friends would always be open about it, and I'd be very good with her. But I suppose my stepdad suffered with mental health, I think, since he was with, like, very early on. My mom found out, I think, that he suffered with depression and anxiety and stuff. And my mom's brilliant in terms of that. Like she was very open to like helping him, and I think he felt comfortable like enough to talk to her around it. And it was kind of like they got to know, like obviously in a relationship for years, and finding out like that, like he was, when he was 18, like he was put in somewhere, and stuff like this. And it wasn't just like, oh, he like was depressed, like say from COVID, like he's battled with these like demons, I suppose, for many years. And I think when I was younger, I didn't, mom obviously tried to keep it away from me. Like he was really bad when my brother, who's 7, was born, around that time when my mom was pregnant, and was in a really bad state. But obviously mom helped him, and he got help, and he came out of it. And same kind of thing was happening. So he took redundancy there, the kind of like the 2019, the end of 2019, I think. And then obviously COVID, he was gigging with David Keenan, and like doing loads of gigs and stuff. And then like was played like Electric Picnic, the Olympia, like all, like he was, and then they were going into like tour, and they're going to tour Europe and different things. And he went to New York, and he was living like he's an amazing musician. And I suppose like he never got a chance to do any of these things. So mom was like, yeah, take redundancy, do all that, blah blah blah. And then obviously COVID hit when the Europe tour was about to happen, and then he just started going down. Like I think it was a few months into it, and I think it was about May, and mom just noticed, and I think mom just thought it was going to be the same kind of a thing, that she was going to help him get out of it, from the 7 years ago. Do you know what I mean? And that type of thing. But I feel like this time around it was just totally different. Like he wasn't working, he didn't have his music, stuff like that. So he just kind of got into a really like bad, like downward spiral. And I suppose I obviously didn't know about it when I was 7 years ago, and obviously was very much aware of it this time around, and how difficult it was, not only for him but like for my mom, to like afraid to go to work and stuff, because she knew he wasn't right and stuff like that. And like just kind of dealing with it, like I don't think anyone would want to experience what we went through, in terms of like the first time he tried to kill himself, I had to go collect him, like because like the hospital let him out, and because he wasn't deemed suicide like enough. And people are like, did they use that terms? And the doctor literally said that. And when my mom was like, so if he does anything to himself tonight, like whose head is it on? And he's like, oh, we'll be very like hurt, or like hurt or something. It was like or devastated or something was the word. And my mom was like, you'll be devastated. He's like, it's my husband, father of my 3 boys, like 3 young boys, and stuff like that. It's just kind of like, you hear stories, and you're like, when you hear of mental health, and you're like, is it that bad? Like, is it that bad? Like, in terms of like how people go about getting help and stuff like that. And it is like, it's like he was led, like the day he killed himself, he was only let out the day before. My mom asked the facility, was like, do you think he's like definitely right to be out? Like blah blah blah. And to be honest, like he probably was the happiest he was. Like I was like, you look great. Like he looked great on the Thursday, and he's like, thanks, Lara. And that was probably he probably knew himself. Do you know that kind of way? Like you just don't know what's going through someone's head. So I suppose it's obviously a tough year, but it just opens your eyes to how like difficult mental health is in our country, and how hard it is to get help. Like, so he didn't only just like went through this phase, like he tried to help himself. Like he was like, because he had his music, he's out running, like he didn't exercise, like he was trying to help himself. And it wasn't like, oh, he just went down. Like he did all like he could, and was doing loads of stuff to try help himself, and it just wasn't working. And he just felt like he was a burden on people, and a burden on the hospital, and a burden on my mom. So I suppose it's just kind of like, I think I did like a campaign for Ohana, and it's a training, and it's only 20-minute training, and just kind of like that, like doing training on how to talk to people about suicide. And like, it's like, I think I would have thought like you don't mention like suicide and you don't talk about killing yourself and you don't talk about this and this or whatever, and people are afraid to, whereas like it's the total opposite. Like people should be like it should be okay to talk about those things, and I think that's why it's so like a touchy topic, because people don't know what way to talk about people, or to people that are feeling those things. So suppose like that's the one thing I have been encouraging people, is to talk. And I know people are like, oh, talk, like tell us if you're not okay and stuff like that, but it's not even just that. It's to talk and use the words like suicide. Have you ever thought of killing yourself? La la la. And like, yes, you might feel awkward saying it, but do you know what I mean? You wouldn't be uncomfortable saying like to someone like, how's your chemo? Do you know what I mean? In that sense, like you're talking about, or like how are you feeling today if you're sick, like if you're physically sick. Whereas like you shouldn't feel awkward to talk about, do you know what I mean? Like about suicide as well. So yeah, no, it's been a hard year. Like it's obviously gonna be something that's gonna impact my life for the rest of my life, I suppose. Especially my brothers are only 12, 8 and 7, and like he only turned 40. Like he would have been 40 in March. So like my mom's a 40, like had me when she was young, 43. But like it's just like he was so young. Like, and I know like obviously there's even young, like obviously young kids, like teenagers doing like, and then you hear stories like that. But like just in terms, like obviously with COVID, it obviously did not help, and it hasn't helped anyone. But it's a mad illness. Yeah.
It's a horrible like story, the way it turned out. But you're very lucky that you have such a strong mother, because I listened to her on the radio and she was amazing talking about COVID and all. And your brothers are really lucky to have not only a really strong mother, but a really strong older sister as well. And it's really admirable what you're doing to decrease the stigma around talking about mental health in the country. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, but you've already covered it. So obviously he was kind of let down by the mental health services and the system in the country. And I know that they do their best with what they have, but what do you think needs to change in the system?
I think, as I said, like you can't blame like just the doctors, and like obviously our experience like 1 or 2, it was kind of like, okay, like yes, there's a lack of money and a lack of like funding or whatever, but there's also like when you're dealing with people and that's your job in mental health, like you need to, do you know what I mean? And like, so we've just had a negative experience with 1 or 2 doctors or whatever. But I feel like in terms of just in general, I think it needs to be more like taken off the family, in terms of like my mom was the person who was like the one trying to do everything for Gary, like the one like basically going through his depression with him, like even when he was in like safe facilities, she was the one, and it was the burden coming back on her, and her making sure that he didn't do anything to himself that day, or do you know what I mean? So if it's something that like it can be more taken off the families, because we're not like, yes, we love that person and we're there to help them, and we'll do as much as we can, but we're also not professionals. So like my mom did so well with him, and I think she thought she could do it again, as I said, because she was there from the first time. But it's to take that pressure off families, because you don't realize how much it does. Like mama's going into work with no sleep because he was up all night, different things like that. So just to take, I think it's just obviously like it is a lack of funding as well, but I also think that I like talking to like paramedics and like firemen and like people like that, like it's they have to bring them to A&E, and then you bring them to A&E and they're basically told to sit there, and like the paramedic and fireman's told like, oh yeah, you can just leave them there, and they're like, you don't realize like I just took this person off a bridge or something, do you know what I mean, or this person just OD'd, like I can't just leave them there, but then they have to go to work. So it's like, I don't know, like obviously there's funding and all, but I feel like there needs to be a separate A&E for those type of things. So like it's not just A&E where like loads of stuff going on, like it's everything, where it's like it's a kind of another section. And I know that obviously costs funding, or like that's more funding and stuff, but I feel like the rates are so high. They got like the week Gary died, the paramedic said he was her fourth suicide. fourth suicide in 3 days, like 3 days. And like I think it was the coroner's office was like, or wherever it was like, oh, like the third or fourth suicide as well that week that he had done on all this. Like I was just like, it was like and that was like what, in October, and like still in lockdown and stuff. So like suicide's already high in Ireland, like never mind COVID. So yes, it is. It's that balance to like, if we can't get the funding or the funding's not there, there needs to be other things that are happening. And I do think that it is the stigma will, like if that's reduced, then that will help, but it also just still isn't enough. So there's obviously there's no answer to it at the moment. My mom, to be fair to her, she's gone to.
It sounds like from what you were saying there that like it's not even treated as an illness in some ways, like, and if it is going to be treated as an illness, it needs to be treated accordingly, not the same as, say, someone with a broken wrist or a broken leg or whatever. You can't just sit them there and say, wait there now and we'll sort you out in 2 hours. Like there needs to be immediate help, like, and it needs to be treated. It needs to be treated as an illness, but treated slightly differently to other illnesses.
Yeah, definitely. It needs to be like, there needs to be a different approach to it. Like, because as you said, you can leave someone there that's with a broken hand. Yes, they might be in pain, but they'll sit there and they'll wait for like, you know what I mean, to be operated on or to be put in a cast. Whereas like someone who has suicidal thoughts, who are very much like going to do something to themselves, aren't going to just sit there, do you know, that kind of way. So it is to like look into what works best in those situations. And like the Gardaí are so, like, they were so good. And the 2 times, like the first time, like he did try to do something, like they were so good. And they're not, like, I know a good few Gardaí like that are guards that are just not qualified in it, but like they've had to deal with so many of those situations, and like they won't leave their side, but like that's not their job either. So it's just, I don't know, it's just there's a lot, like mom like did a report on the kind of the care Gary got, and what, not just, it wasn't going in being like, this is what you did wrong, la 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 la. Like, yes, there was obviously an aspect of what like went wrong, but also what can be done, and she's doing that. So I think she's trying to do a lot more work on that aspect, and she'll like, I know loads of people will, but to be fair to mom, like she only lost her husband in October, and like she's done so much already. Like even when she was on the radio, she's like, he'll ring you back if you want a few days. She's like, no, I want to go on the radio now. And they're like, are you sure? So like she's just very strong. She's gone through a lot, like, never mind this, like for her whole life. Like she's just like so admirable with what she's done. But I think changes only happen when you have people like that kind of fighting for that in your corner. So just with everything, like being a part of the Ohana like group as well and stuff like that campaign, like that just is another step. So if there's those type of things, like it isn't like it's not changing, but hopefully it just continues.
She's some woman, like she, like, but like the other thing is as you said, she's not just going in pointing fingers. She's saying like, this is what needs to change. From my experience, this is being done wrong, but not only is it being done wrong, this is how we can do it better. And like it's great that like the TUI, like obviously it's an incredibly sad story, Gary's story, but you're using Gary's story, I suppose, to try and help other people, which is great. Like
as in, it was only, I think it was only a few weeks after Gary died, like a man like was friends with when she was younger, like 3 kids, oldest 21, youngest 2 boys, and she like was in the same facility as Gary. Do you know, the kind of way, stuff like that, you're like, oh my God. So it's more, I think stuff like mom's already like adamant to do stuff, but I think like another one close to home and stuff like that, like she's just very determined. And as you said, you get more out of it, I think, when you're not going in, like, I think in general in life you can't go around just pointing fingers and blaming and not having a solution, because you just don't get anywhere with that. Whereas like if you can, yes, you can say things that went wrong and what should have happened, but you also have to have like a kind of an answer, or like different like scenarios that could happen, or different techniques that could be used as well. So no, she's she's an unbelievable woman.
Yeah, she's great. And what she's doing like is just like she's brilliant. But anyway, we'll move away from talking about your mother. I'll have to get her on at some stage, obviously. The other way.
Oh God, I don't think this would be the platform. She could say anything. Like, she's a loose cannon.
I can edit it anyway. I can edit it afterwards. But yeah, so I obviously that's a very important conversation that we just had there, and it's great that to give mental health and talk about mental health a platform, so that people break the stigma and talk about it a little bit more, because that's the only way we're going to improve the nature in the way that it's treated in this country, I suppose. But to move on to just a few quick fire questions before you go, some of them personal, some of them not so personal. What's been your proudest accomplishment to date? It could be in a few weeks, I suppose, but it's probably going to be pertaining to Dublin, or maybe even to Crokes, or maybe it might not be any to do with sport whatsoever.
No, definitely. I'd say it definitely has to be probably the All-Ireland 2017. I suppose never won an All-Ireland underage. Like, we won it under 21 and like competition, but it ended up being just a blitz, so it just didn't feel the same. But also I think even though the 2020 was so different, like the championship was so different, I still think maybe that, because obviously I lost Gary in October, was back training in like 2 weeks after that, and then trying to deal with emotions from that as well as emotions from football, and then in the midst of it all, like COVID, like, you know what I mean, the whole year of COVID, and maybe it was 2020 as well. So between those two.
But just to go on a slight tangent, in terms of it sounds like you get on really, really well with all the girls from Dublin. Like, well, the girls you're out there with anyway. Are they a very good support system, or were they a very good support system during that?
Yeah, no, God, like I think he died on Friday and I went to a challenge match they had on Sunday just to clear my head. But like, they were just like, what are you doing here? Like, they've all been amazing. Like every single one of them, all the management, even like when I hadn't met any of the girls from Melbourne, any of the management from Melbourne, only a handful, like they were all onto me. So no, they've been really good. And I think, like, you know, those were like, there's days of training where I was a bit emotional, and like it wasn't to do with the match. I was just kind of like obviously emotions are in heightened anyway from playing, and like having a mental breakdown on the pitch, and then just being so understanding and stuff like that. But no, I think if I didn't have that, like, sport, or the people that I have within sport, I don't know what way it would have went in terms for myself to cope with it. So,
I get you. And you just touched on Melbourne there as well. So like, what I was going to ask then is it a similar kind of culture in Melbourne as it is in Dublin, like, and similar kind of closeness of the group?
Yeah, no, they definitely are. Like, I didn't know what way it was going to work, but even before, as I said, before I went over, they've been so good and keep in touch. And no, they're very much a close-knit unit. They're all just really good people, and they do anything for you. And I've gotten on really well with all the girls, and just for how short of a period I've been here, it doesn't feel like I only know them like literally like February, March, like literally only 2 months. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, no, it's the same kind of culture.
And then the next one I wanted to ask you, who's your favorite GAA player of all time? And like, you can't say your dad or your uncle. Or maybe they want you to say that. Maybe
Darren was like, say me. I was like, I'm not saying you. I try to, like, I've actually really tried to think about this, because I'm like, it's like, I suppose I grew up with watching like my dad's team. Like, that's like, obviously so many players that stand out now playing football over the country, and like women, do you know what I mean, that I really admire. But I don't know, I suppose a lot of the players that played with my dad's age group, like Kieran Whelan, like Paddy Christie, like all those, Collie Moore, and like any of those, but also Seamus Moynihan from Kerry, I suppose, as well. He would have been around that time. So I'd say outside of Dublin, I'll say him.
Okay, you dodged a bullet there. Now you didn't upset anyone.
Yeah.
What will we move on to? What's your favorite obscure footballer or footballing moment of all time? And I know a certain someone that if you don't pick something pertaining to Liverpool, they might be disappointed.
Oh God, no, I wouldn't be saying anything about Liverpool. I do support Liverpool, but not that much. But what kind of what is that?
It can
Obscure?
be even like you know when you're younger and there's a footballer or whatever that you're like, geez, they're brilliant.
Oh, I don't. I couldn't tell you.
Blank.
Yeah, blank.
Pass.
Pass.
Next one is actually to do with the podcast I did last week with David Uwe, and we were talking about who'd win in a fight, a gorilla or a grizzly bear, and I just want to get more opinions on it.
I actually had a conversation with Mike, and he was like, I was like, oh, gorilla, and then he gave me all the statistics on why a grizzly bear. And he's like, I'm not trying to tell you why a grizzly bear would win. I was like, you literally just tried to force it down my throat. So I'm going to have to say a gorilla just to be the opposite. So yeah.
That's gas, because I've experienced the same thing, and it's maybe we shouldn't be talking about him on here, but he'll give you all the reasons that he's right first, and then at the very end he'll go, oh yeah, but you can think whatever you want.
Like, yeah, like it'd be oh yeah, like it's like it's up to you, like, but and they're like, you literally just told me the answer. He's like, you can pick whatever, and I was like, I literally just said gorilla, and then you went against me for about 5 minutes on why the grizzly bear would win. So
I'll have to get him on to defend himself at some stage. So what meal or food are you loving at the moment? Sounds like your brunches are going well anyway.
Oh, such a white girl, I'd say thing. Like it's like avocado on toast, eggs, like feta. Like it's literally like, yeah, I'll have the avo on toast, please. It's like, and it's on generally the menu. It's like avo, smashed avo. Yeah, you're like, I'll have avo. That one. But it's like when you get it in Melbourne, it's like pomegranates, like everything's like just random stuff. Like today, like my bread is like a pumpkin loaf. Like I was like, this is bizarre, but good.
They do it well though, don't they? And I was like,
their brunch is like their brunch is a different level. Like,
yeah, it's ridiculous. Right, so
that's why I'm broke.
Yeah, brunch every day. Just skip breakfast and lunch, I suppose, and dinner maybe as well.
Literally,
So what artists have you been listening to a lot recently? Musical artists?
I've been very like, for home wise, I've listened to a lot of Damien Dempsey being out here, to be honest. I'm like back to and me Luke Kelly and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
it's gas, isn't it? When you go abroad, Christy Moore. When you just start listening to, who'd you say, Luke Kelly, Christy Moore, and Damien Dempsey.
Yeah. To be honest, I'd listen to anything, but yeah, no, they're definitely ones that I've been listening to more.
Well, you get so into it when you're abroad. When I was in Singapore, I used to go into the gym on a Sunday, and there'd be nobody in the gym on a Sunday. And I used to just put on like the Chieftains and like the Wolf Tones and all these in the gym and just have them absolutely blaring. I'd be roaring as well, like while I'm doing my session. I don't know what it is about leaving home. Like,
to hear our first training session with Melbourne, Reed's SSC, like he's so good. He like was like, send me on your requests or like our songs. We only sent like one each, thinking it was just be having. And he had like a whole Irish album of like loads of Irish songs that like the girls would know as well. He's like, Magee, did you not hear it? Like, do you know, like, you don't notice that it's an Irish track? Like, I was like, yeah, I've noticed that. Like, you've been playing Boyzone and Westlife and everything. Like, but yeah, no, it does. Like, it's like even like coming back from one of the matches, he's like, I don't know what I should put on, and I literally put on like one of her favorite Damien Dempsey songs. She's like, yeah, that's the one I needed, like straight after the match. Like, so
it's weird when you go down there though, isn't it? That like anywhere else you go in the world, Boyzone or Westlife aren't that big a deal, but in Australia and New Zealand, they almost love them more than us.
Oh yeah, no, like I think they do. Like, honestly, it's a bit weird.
Yeah, they're obviously doing well down there. They could still tour. What have you been reading any books lately?
I actually just finished today Man's Search for Meaning. It's just about
I'm reading at the moment.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started reading it I read Normal People in quarantine because it was like an easy read, and obviously I watched the series, and then I was about to start her second book, but I was like, oh no, I'll start like Man Search for Meaning, and then like I got into an oppressed, like I was so like on the 9th day I was like, I'm so down, I can't be reading about this book, like concentrate.
The Holocaust.
So it's actually like it's taken me a while to read it because I'm like, this is a lot.
It is,
but yeah, it's good, but it is intense.
It's so interesting the way he's like so analytical about everything that's going on. He's talking about such horrible things, and then he's just saying like, this is why I felt this way, or other people.
Yeah, I was like, this is mad. So I felt like it's a book where you have to really concentrate. So it's taken me longer than what I usually just read through a book. So I might go to the bookshop tomorrow and get me a book.
There you go.
I might do.
Last question. So what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
I'm trying to be like, I'm the exact same since I was 18, but I'm obviously not. Well, I'd like to think I'm a bit more different, but I'd say a big thing is just not that I did care about what people thought, or like, do you know what I mean, liking you and disliking you, but I did in a way, like, especially like between different teams, and like you're obviously not going to get along with every single person, and not in terms of like not getting along, but like not be best friends with everyone, and not be in every group and stuff like that. And in school and stuff, and like going to an all-girls school, you know what I mean? Like it was down, like going from a primary school with like lads who were probably like, I always was on the boys team, and you know what I mean, I always got on with lads better, and in terms of that. But it's more just to be like don't care what anyone thinks, or who likes you or who doesn't like you. If they like you, they do, and like they'll be a part of your life. But I think, and I think people know that now. I'm just like very like, I either, if I like you, I like you. If I don't, I don't. And then like if they like, I don't care if they are in a kind of way, and I don't. If they don't like me, kind of a thing. But
it's not worth making the effort with people. They're generally not going to like you anyway, regardless. Yeah, exactly. But that's it. That's all my questions I have. Thanks for coming on. Best of luck the weekend.
Thanks for that.
It sounds like you're going well, so hopefully you got 2 quarters last week, was it? So hopefully you get another couple.
Yeah, I think the game gets all muddled, so I think I got definitely last quarter. I'm trying to think, was I on for the third quarter, but hopefully I get a bit more game time this weekend, just with everything. But looking forward to, especially we played them in Frio the last time, and now they're coming back, they're coming to us. So like that was a big, like the flight's like 3 to 4 hours, so like it's a big, you think like when you're in Australia you're close to everywhere, you're not miles to everywhere, like it's hour flights, like, you know what I mean, to everywhere. So
so that's a big factor in getting the home quarterfinal anyway. So best of luck with that.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And sure, keep going the way you're going. You'll be midfield in no time.
Oh, we'll see about that.